I'm here at an old abandoned airport. They're about to tear all this down. The runway is over there, and the planes used to be under that port. And this is where the mechanic, these are the hangars where the mechanic used to work. There's not much left. Look at this. I didn't get to, if you ever look, I have an old video that I did of this a ways back. And it's an old Gilbarco fuel pump. And there's an old Cessna plane from 1970 Cessna. So I wanted to get one. My primary focus was to get some photography of that old Gilbarco fuel pump it looked to be from the 60s. A real rustic looking, really cool. But it's kind of cool at least that the hangars are still here. Yep, as you can see, all this will soon be gone. Look at that, that's old airplane tires. The purpose of this, what essentially this was, the guy who owned this was an airplane mechanic. So pilots would land here, and of course he'd work on the planes. And that's what my dad actually knew the guy. My dad's been in skydiving off and on since the 80s, so he kind of knew a lot of people, and he flew, was kind of getting into flying, but more or less skydiving. But you know, it's kind of like, you know, you get to know people, and when you're in that kind of circuit. But nevertheless, it's kind of sad to see this go. It's sort of you hate to see all your town landmarks disappear. I'm going to show you the runway. Look at all this. They've been doing a lot of work. This was the runway. That's where the plane would take off. It's down there. Sorry, let me back up. There's a billboard, that's where it'd take off, over that billboard. Thank you for joining. This is the old Gilbarco fuel pump that I was referring to. And of course somebody removed it. I'm sure it's in somebody's garage. They're probably, I don't know, if somebody's smart, they'll refinish it, and that'd look really cool, you know, as a collector's item. But I don't know. Nevertheless, as you see, it's no longer here. This is a picture of my dad landing in the field. It looks like, and him and his buddy. I wish I knew the name of his buddy. I'll have to ask him. He probably remembers. But that's them. They had just landed, but they landed in another field. It was another small little community airport that isn't too far from the Hurdle Field Airport that I was just showing you. They had to land because they had to land this other field because it was a little more out in the country. I mean, well, let's face it, back then, Mebane pretty much was a country, but there was a little more highways, and there was, I guess you could say they're sort of illegally doing this back then, you know. I mean, it wasn't a drop zone, but, you know. This is them going down that runway that I showed you. They're taking off. Looks like the hurdle-filled strip. This looks like an old Cessna plane that they were taking off. That looks like an old 70s Cessna that they were taking off in. Here's a picture of them gearing up. I'm about to jump here where I am currently filming. Pretty cool. I'm glad I found all these. I don't know who my dad, I mean, that's my dad's buddy. That was a guy he knew. And I guess skydived with, but I don't know who the lady is in the background. And maybe she was the pilot, I don't know. Here's a picture of my dad landing. We're dropping down. I assume my mother was taking the pictures at the time. But this is back when Mebane was a very rural town. It, a lot different than it is now, pretty much.